So I have 3 kids, aged between 10 and 15, which means, yes, I went to see the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. But here is the thing. It was really, really good. Hi guys, it's me, and I'm here to talk to you about the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And hold on, everyone who is over the age of 35, don't leave yet, because it was a really, really good movie. Five Nights at Freddy. Five Nights at Freddy's. I didn't really know what to expect. So if you are unfamiliar with it, Five Nights at Freddy's is a little indie video game enterprise created by this guy called Scott Cawthon in 2014. And if you've got kids under the age of like 16, then there is no way that you escaped Five Nights at Freddy's. It was a big deal. It was a video game series that resonated really, really powerfully with kids. It's really remarkable to see which video games like kids love. I mean, obviously they love Minecraft and Fortnite, and there are games like Bendy and the Ink Machine and Poppy's Playhouse and stuff. But there was something special about Five Nights at Freddy's. It was it was a very compelling like game platform for kids where they had to manage energy, and you had jump scares. It was all set in an 80s pizzeria place, which was just like Chuck E. Cheese, which is very familiar to kids. You got the big animatronics as the bad guys. And there's a lot of lore behind it. I mean, my kids were obsessed. And when we say obsessed, like, check this out. Five Nights at Freddy's has been a big thing. My kids have all the plushies. We've made giant heads. My middle child dressed up as Freddy. So it has been a big deal, and they watch YouTube videos about it incessantly, about the lore of it. There's a guy called MacPat who has this channel called Game Theory, and he's always going into it. So I've never really played the games. They weren't kind of my thing. The graphics weren't very good, and it was kind of like tricky to figure it out. But I'm aware of, in the background, hearing all these things, all these names, all these theories. The Purple Man and the Crying Child and William Afton and stuff like that. So when I heard there was going to be a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, I was kind of excited, because to me what it meant was something that was really important to my kids was going to be packaged up in a way that would be suitable for me as a grown-up. And I was even more excited when I started seeing the trailers of it, because I was like, oh, the star, it's that guy from those college humor YouTube videos. Turns out it's not, it's just an actor who looks exactly like him. But I was kind of excited by that, because the YouTubers who helped make this game massively popular, the game got released and then a bunch of YouTubers started making endless videos about it. Some of them appear in the movie. So yeah, my kids were stoked. I didn't know what to expect at all, apart from, oh, it's going to be a scary movie with these big animatronics in it. But what I didn't expect was to go to the cinema, be shoving popcorn in my mouth, and to watch a really good movie. I've watched a lot of like independent horror films and independent thrillers and stuff like this, and Five Nights at Freddy's was way up there. It was a brilliantly written film. And what I found so amazing was just the thought process behind, like, okay, we've got this video game, we've got all this lore, how are we going to translate that into a scripted narrative that lasts like an hour and a half? And they did a really wonderful job. So the movie is about this guy, Mike Schmidt, who is like, he's a loser. He's a guy who's got issues. He lives on his own with his little sister. He's struggling to hold down a job because his brother got abducted when he was a child, and that's really messed with him. And he's at the risk of losing his daughter to his aunt, losing custody of his sister to his aunt. And he reluctantly takes this job as a night security guard at this old abandoned pizzeria called Freddy Fazbear's, which was shut down in the 80s after a bunch of kids went missing there. And the movie has, 5 nights in which he goes there. And the first night he goes there and things are weird and creepy. And the second night he meets a cop there and he learns that there are animatronics there. And the third night his sister accidentally goes there. And it builds up. But the thing that's really, really cool about this movie is it has a really coherent solid storyline that builds up and escalates throughout the entire movie. And it's such a ridiculous premise, this whole thing of like giant animatronics coming to life and these kids going missing and stuff. But the script ties it all together in a really satisfying way. It is one of the most coherent, competently written movies I've seen in a long time. Makes me think of like the James Bond movie, No Time to Die, which I quite enjoyed. I really did enjoy. When I was watching it with my dad, I was like, the plot doesn't make much sense now I think about it. And that's the opposite with Five Nights at Freddy's. I was like, wow, the plot makes a lot of sense. I'm totally invested in this. And the movie making it as well. It was a very low budget movie. I think it was $20 million. But it is really compellingly made. It's filmed in like this... It's the producers at Blumhouse or something who make a lot of horror movies. But it's filmed in a really competent, well done way that kind of... It's got like that slightly unsettling feel about it all the way through. The movie is it's emotionally intense. I mean, you meet this character, Mike Schmidt, and immediately, you know, you are thrown into his life. He's struggling with money. His bills are in delinquency. He's running the risk of losing custody of sister. You give a shit about him, like right from the very beginning. And then he gets swept into this it seems ridiculous if I explain it to you. Oh, he becomes a security guard and these animatronics come to life. It's like, that sounds ridiculous, but it makes perfect sense in the context of the movie. And there's a mystery to it, a mystery related to his past and the past of the kids and his sister and it just works. I have the bladder of a small excited puppy, so I normally disappear off for a couple of toilet breaks throughout any movie. I didn't want to leave my seat. I was like watching this movie and I was like, I don't want to leave my seat because I don't want to miss any part of this. And it was great. So I watched it with my kids. In the end, we were chatting about things and they were chatting about what was different in the game version compared to the real version and what they liked and what they didn't like and how some of the things they adapted were kind of clever. But the thing was, I now had this experience of something that was really important to my kids given to me in a way that was relevant and digestible to me, and it was great. It was like a shared bonding experience and I loved it. But even if I had no prior knowledge about Five Nights at Freddy's, even if it didn't mean anything to my kids, if I was forced to sit down and watch this movie, I'd have been like, oh, well, that's a bloody good movie, isn't it? So it was really, really enjoyable. And if you are into horror movies, then I definitely recommend it. And if you're a parent who's got kids who loved Five Nights at Freddy's, and you're like, oh, I don't want to take them to a horror movie, that's one of the beautiful things about it. It's a horror movie, and it's quite a scary movie, but it doesn't have huge amounts of gore in it, or excessive violence or anything. Just like the games, it's kind of like jump scares, and everything that happens off screen or is implied. So it is, I think, appropriate for younger kids. And I mean, come on, at the moment your kids are sitting on their phones scanning through videos of what Hamas is up to in Palestine and, you know, what the Russians are doing in the Ukraine and mass shootings in Maine. I mean, real life is a pretty scary, horrible place. So if you're worried about taking your kids to see this movie, trust me, this is a break from the horrific reality of life and existence. That's one of the things that's enjoyable about it. But it was just a really, really good, well-written movie. And what I really liked about it is the fact that this is going to be one of the biggest films of the year. It had a $20 million budget, which is nothing. Made $130 million in its opening weekend. I mean, comparatively, compared to cost versus profit, it's probably the most successful film of the year. It is the most successful video game adaptation movie in history. And that includes Over Mario that got released earlier this year, which was a really fun movie as well, actually. So this is a big deal. And I think a lot of filmmakers and a lot of film studios should look at Five Nights at Freddy's and be like, oh, maybe instead of having these ridiculous budgets for our movies, $300, $400 million, that can make or break us as a studio if they fail, maybe we should make smaller budget movies with better plots. Barbara Broccoli and all you folks at Eon Productions who make the James Bond movies, I hope you're paying attention. You want a smaller budget with a better script to make more money and keep your franchise going. Don't go down the route of the Hollywood blockbuster, spending tons of money making something that could be a flop or could be a success. Make something cheap but really, really good. And this is the new model that is going to be really, really successful. And you can get so much more for your money now as a filmmaker anyway. So yeah, I really enjoyed Five Nights at Freddy's. I really enjoyed the experience of going to see it with my kids. I really enjoyed the Easter eggs of seeing like Matt Pat make an appearance in the movie. There was another YouTuber who played the taxi driver. It had certain parts that were funny. It had a lot of parts that were scary. It had a lot of parts that really tugged on the heartstrings, and you felt invested in Mike and his little sister. It was just great. And of course, the bad guy in it is Matthew Lillard, who you might know of from that movie Scream, which is another really iconic horror movie, or you might know him as Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. And it was really interesting to see him in this movie as well, because he just did a fantastic job. It was a great movie. It was a great movie. 2 thumbs up. And yeah, if you have any motivation to go and see it, quit watching this video after you've hit the like button and go and see it. It was really, really good. Right, that's all I have to say. But yeah, I'll be back soon with another video. And until then, cheerio. I'm Roland Hume. I've sold 67,000 copies of my books. If you want to find out how I did it, I've got the link right here you can click. And otherwise, don't forget to subscribe. I've got more videos coming soon. Thank you.